It's time for story time. 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 Hey, it's time for story time. 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 Yay! Pete the Cat and the Cool Caterpillar by James Dean. Pete is on a bug safari. He and his friends are looking for bugs. How many bugs can they find? Callie spots a tiny black ant. It's building an anthill, she says. Groovy, says Pete. Gus found a round red ladybug in the mint patch. It has 9 spots, says Gus. Nice, says Pete. Marty sees a big black spider. It caught a fly, he says. Neat, says Pete. Pete finds a green caterpillar in the flower pot. I will bring it home to show mom and dad, he says. Mom helps Pete build a home for the caterpillar. They use a big jar. Dad put a lot of little holes in the lid for air. Pete puts the caterpillar inside the jar. Pete puts some leaves in the jar for the caterpillar to eat. He adds a twig for the caterpillar to crawl on. Good night, Pete, says Mom. Good night, Pete, says Dad. Good night, caterpillar, says Pete. When Pete wakes up, the caterpillar is gone. Where did it go? Did it run away? It's not gone, says Mom. It did not run away, says Dad. Look, they said. What happened to the caterpillar? The caterpillar's inside there, says Mom. It's called a pupa. Will it stay in there forever? Pete asks. No, says Dad. The caterpillar is changing into something new. What will it become? Pete asks. It's a surprise, says Mom. We must wait and see. Pete waits. Callie comes to visit. Did it come out yet? No. Is it come out yet? No. Not yet, says Pete. Pete waits and he waits and he waits some more. Gus comes to visit. Did it come out yet? He asks. Not yet, says Pete. Did it come out yet? Not yet. Pete waits even longer. Marty comes to visit. Did it come out yet, Pete? Not yet, says Pete. Pete waits and he 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 waits until one day something finally started to happen. The pooper starts to wiggle, and shake, and wiggle. Something is happening, says Pete. It's wiggling. And it wiggles some more, and some more, and some more, and everybody comes to watch. It's shaking, and it's shaking, and it's wiggling and wiggling. The pooper cracks open. Something is coming out. What can it be? A head pokes out, and then some legs, and then two colorful wings. The caterpillar changed into a beautiful butterfly. Wow, says Pete. The butterfly slowly moves its wings up and down. up and down, up and down, and it's ready to fly. They take the jar to the park. Time to say goodbye, said Dad. Pete opens the lid of the jar. The butterfly flaps its wings. It flutters out of the jar and lands on Pete's nose. It tickles, he says. Then the butterfly flies up into the sky. Bye bye, butterfly, everyone says. Let's find a new caterpillar, says Pete. Change is pretty cool. The end.